Hi, my name is Kevin Ye. I'm the country chair of MDRT South Africa. Join me as I interview 40 financial advisors who are also MDRT members as they share their life story, experience, and tips on personal finance. So today, I'm really privileged to have HILTON HAUSBERGER on this episode. HILTON is the financial planner of HAUSBERGER Financial Services. And he is a founder and a lifetime prestige financial advisor at Discovery. HILTON, how are you today?
I'm excellent. Yourself, Kevin?
Great, thanks. It's a pleasure speaking to you. And HILTON, I remember the first time I saw you and you actually spoke at an event many years ago. Maybe you wouldn't have remembered, but it was one of the franchise directors of Discovery invited you to speak as a keynote speaker of that evening. And I was quite impressed. And I think I recorded part of your speech. So I've known you as a successful financial advisor. And it's really wonderful to have this opportunity to get to know you. So HILTON, where did you grow up and what did you study?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to chat with you and to all my fellow MDRT colleagues. And it really is a privilege to spend this time with you. I grew up in an area in Johannesburg called Rosettenville, which is in the southern suburbs of Johannesburg. Yeah. And I left that area in about 1979 when I went off to the military for 2 years. Finished off in the military in 1979, and I was fortunate enough to join Liberty Life as an underwriter.
Right.
Back in 1983. From 1983 until 1987, I was an underwriter, a broker consultant, and then an agent for Liberty.
Right.
And in 1989, I decided to become a broker, as what they called us at the time. I became a broker for represented numerous companies up until 2013. In 2013, I made a decision to represent Discovery only to date.
Okay, so you have had a long career as a financial advisor. Who are your target markets?
Well, it ranges, but primarily individuals I get along with. I don't. You get a feeling for people that you can work with and take your advice. People who take your advice. I think that's the most important that we do. So that's my target market, really. People who take financial planning seriously. And people who they have a good karma.
So is it maybe some, because you say the people you like, is that maybe because people have some certain interest, and maybe some people, they like to play golf, or maybe they enjoy outdoor, is some kind of a common trait where you find where you get on well with those clients of yours?
Yeah, the common trait is generally you get a feeling for a client right at the onset, whether the client's going to take your advice or not. It's more important that the client takes your advice. I don't really play golf or need to socialize with the client. That may or may not occur. That's not a prerequisite. The prerequisite is the business approach we take to financial planning and the seriousness that goes with financial planning. That's those characteristics that I look for in a client. You're sitting with a professional. We've got a problem. We've got to sort out X, Y. There's a risk transfer continually of how you place the risk, where the client perceives risk, where he doesn't perceive risk, and then the financial coaching. We become financial coaches as you will go along in life. You'll realize that it's a wonderful thing we do. It's really a special thing we do, and to watch people who have taken your advice when they get to retirement age, they have sufficient funding, and they say to you, "Can you retire?" And you say, "Absolutely." You've taken the advice, and you've never questioned the advice along the process, because you've been fair. You've been fair with the client, and you've disclosed the necessary disclosures to the client, etc. And you've walked a long path together. That's important for me. And I try and instill that in the youngsters as well in the brokerage. I've got 4 young planners that have come through. They all have their necessary degrees, a little bit smarter than me. And you try and instill that the planning process more than the sale process into the advisor's life. it's a long-term career commitment. It takes a long time to achieve what you want to achieve. It's a lifetime commitment to your clients.
And I just want to unpack your career, because you a bit. What was the turning point when you decided to leave Liberty and to have your own brokerage? What made you to make that decision?
Well, first and foremost, I was employed as an underwriter, which is an administrative role. And I'm clearly not administrative. My skill set's not administration. So I moved from underwriting into being a broker consultant. And introduced Liberty product to various brokers and got to know the product really well. And then I saw what the brokers, the agents used to earn. And I thought, well, this is interesting. The money part of it was very attractive. So I went from being a broker consultant to an agent. And then from an agency mindset, an agent mindset into a businessman's mindset in building a company and building a business. A sustainable business for over a period of 30 years now. So we all start out as agents and salespeople, and we walk that path, and then you continually grow, and then you eventually you run a decent practice.
And fast forward to 2013, you decided to join Discovery, market their products. What's the rationale there?
Well, at this stage, I was writing the majority of my business for Discovery. And I feel very bad when another company's representative would call on me and you can't give them business for whatever reason. And they call and they want the business. And it goes back to my history of being a broker consultant. You call on a broker, you want the business, you're doing everything you can to get the business, but you just can't crack you can't get it over the line. So with that in mindset, I was writing 90% of my business for Discovery at that time. I just decided to uncomplicate my life and focus on one provider. And I'm going to be a bit biased here, but they fitted my niche market. They fitted where I operated, and they still have some very exciting products as opposed to the rest of the market.
So what's your secret, or how do you build a successful financial planning practice?
Well, I would imagine, I know it begins with caring. You care about people. You have a strong affinity with people. You worry about people, and you worry about their finances if something happens to them. I lost my father at a very young age. I was in standard 4 when he passed away, and there was no life insurance. And it could have been very different had he had a Kevin in front of him, or Tracy Devonport in front of him, or whoever was on that around, really successful advisors in front of him. That might have been slightly different. So I understand the importance of life insurance. When you lose the loved one or the breadwinner, and I understand the morbidity, the disability part of it. And I've been fortunate enough to pay substantial claims throughout my career. And there's nothing more satisfying than when nobody ever sees what you do for a living until they pass or they have a claim. Then everything clicks into place. So it's a very, we people's people, we care about people. It's along those lines. You have a strong feeling for people. That's, I think if you align yourself with that, and you do what we do in terms of planning and working at a client's portfolio with them, going through it regularly. I do something different to most advisors. I try and see my clients on a quarterly basis. I don't have a very big client base, but I try and see my clients on a quarterly basis. So you're in there, you become part of them. You become part of the family. And if something does happen, you say to the children, "Don't worry. Your father made provision, or your mother made provision, and don't worry about it. We've got this. We're gonna miss that person dearly, but you don't worry about the finances." And I've watched kids go through schooling. Those I know the various companies have those global education sort of type policies where education's paid for. The mother doesn't have to worry about it, and that's gratifying.
Mm. And can you share with us a client story that has stuck with you over the years?
Oh, I've got plenty. But no, I mean, I was fortunate, the Brett Kibble comes to mind immediately.
Oh,
we were the lead underwriter on that case.
yeah.
I've had clients who've gone to a motorbike track on a Saturday and never come home. So there are various examples one could use. But I've had clients who've suffered dementia at 53.
Wow.
So I've seen life insurance in action. I'm fortunate enough to see life insurance in action.
Yeah.
To the younger guys out there that have just joined and haven't had their first claims yet, you really get to understand when you start paying these claims how important our careers are. And it's always been a calling for me in terms of what we do. Yeah. It's not a means to an end.
Yeah.
It goes beyond that. It really does go beyond that. It becomes almost cult-like. Where you buy into this and it's a belief. It's an absolute belief.
Hilton, what you said about you try to visit clients quarterly, how has COVID impacted your business and the way you interact with clients, given the initial hard lockdown and we're still in the midst of a COVID? How has that affected your client relationship and how you interact with clients?
Well, obviously, you're very aware of the social interaction. So the first 4 weeks we operated from home and did the telephone calls. But I'm not very good at that. I'm not very good at what we're doing at the moment. I'm quite uncomfortable in front of a camera.
So you prefer to have face-to-face. You like to have a human touch.
Yes. So the minute, because you get the ebb and flow in a meeting.
Yes. Yeah. You see,
you can feel when the clients. You can watch body language, and we were filtering. Trained by Liberty, which is a great company in terms of training. And you watch body language. You watch when a client's coming forward, going backwards, folding their arms. All those good. Those body language signals that come through when you're engaging with a client. You can't do that, what we're doing at the moment. You see my hands all over the place when they shouldn't be. So to answer your question, as soon as the hard lockdown is down, we were back in front of clients. I was back in front of clients. Obviously with their consent.
Yes.
They had to, and we took the necessary precautions in seeing clients. And but I'm also in the twilight of my career, So it's where I used to see 6 clients a day, I'm down to maybe 3 or 4.
Are you getting the younger guys to maybe start to take over some of your clients? See your clients?
Yes. So there's a succession planning process, and you generally feel uncomfortable as a 61-year-old giving advice to a 30-year-old. I almost think, who's this old man giving me advice? That's the feeling you get. So I go and join calls with the younger advisors and listen to the way they pitch and where they go and try and instill that the needs-based selling. Where we identify the need, and then there's a simple risk transfer discussion that follows after you've identified the need. And then the client either agrees or doesn't agree. And if he doesn't agree, then you say, okay, well, that's cool. We'll address it next month or the year after or whatever, or 3 months or 4 months later, we'll look at it again. And slowly you build that relationship. It's all about relationships at the end, that strong relationship. And I suppose that's why in 2013, it was relatively easy for me to transition from being independent to an agent.
Right.
And because of the incredible strong relationships I had with the executive at Discovery, we came through the ranks virtually together.
Hilton, I know that you have a team that supports you, your administrators, and you mentioned about the junior financial planners. So for a solo financial advisor out there who maybe don't even have a PA or administrator to assist, where do they start? How do they build that kind of an infrastructure to enable them to do more?
So in the beginning, it's hard work. It's long hours because you got to do both. You can't afford a PA. You can't afford it. So the young advisors that are starting out, as soon as they've established a annuity income, on the product lines, the minute they've established an annuity income, then you need a PA as soon as possible, because our skill sets are not administration. That's why I enjoy underwriting, because I'm not an underwriter at heart. I'm not an administrator. It's not part of my skill set.
Sure.
So you identify your skills, you identify your weaknesses, and this has all come from MDRT. A lot of reading from MDRT, where you read and you say, where am I going wrong? What am I doing wrong? And it's all in the books. It's all there. You just got to go and research it at the MDRT archive.
Okay.
And so the first thing I did was get a PA as soon as possible to take away my administration burden. Because it gives you more time. So what am I good at? I'm good at selling insurance, sitting in front of a client. It doesn't help me doing administration. So to the young guys, and it's really difficult because administrators are expensive. Really good administrators are expensive. And I took out some of the decisions that I made early on in my life was to write annuity-based income. As opposed to basing my entire career on upfront commission. It's more an annuity-based business. So the minute you've got that annuity income, it gives you financial freedom to then start employing admin assistants to assist you.
All right. And I believe that you don't just have one administrator, you have a few administrators. So how did you actually break it down to what they need to do? Does one person focus on making an appointment, one focus on the new business, one focus on servicing? How does it work in your practice?
So I'm fortunate enough to have gone to a couple of talks by Derek Dingle.
Okay.
And it was Derek who actually, when you go to these talks and you listen to the master speaking, that you say, oh, he's got this, that rings a bell, I should be doing that, etc. And one of the first things was to delegate, break it into sections. So you have a person who does your preparation for you. So I have a paraplanner who prepares me for the appointments. I have then an assistant. Once I come back from a client, they do the processing. So you would call that a processing administration or a processing clerk, whatever that term may be. However you want to describe that job description. And then I have an assistant who closes the deal in terms of compliance, records of advice, etc. So I have a loop.
Okay.
Start the cycle, follow the loop, and then I go back to the client with the completed documentation, etc. And you close that particular loop on that sale. I then have a health administrator. I have a short-term administrator, both on personal lines and commercial. Because I have 5 licenses, I think. Not just life and industry. And then I have a pension fund administrator as well. And that's the way I've built our practice. And that was basically listening to Derek Dingle. When he's and Tracy Davenport also. You sit and listen to Tracy, and she does things differently, and she's got a very successful person. They do things differently. So you take a little bit from Hausberger, you steal a bit from Davenport, you steal a bit from Michael Guida, you steal a bit from some of the legends that have passed on now. Hami Saxel, Fanaroff, these are all MDRT members, both past and present. And you steal a bit, and you say, okay, well, that can work in my practice. I'll try that. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But it's if you commit to this career, and you say, I came into the career when I was 25 and today I'm 61, you realize it's a long, this is not a one-day game. For anybody, any advisors, this is a one-day game, and they're going to be in this industry and make a quick buck and get out of it. It's the wrong industry.
Sure.
I think what they're saying is it's actually 15 years for an overnight success.
Mm. Hilton, let's now turn to MDRT. You being a long-term MDRT member, how did you get to know about MDRT?
I was fortunate enough again, Liberty Life. I was blessed to work for Liberty Life, and they introduced me to $1 Million Round Table. And the broker, when I was a broker consultant, I called on brokers that were MDRT. Jaime Levy was one of the first presenters in South Africa on the main platform. And I was fortunate enough to call on him as a broker consultant.
Right.
It's like Cyril Fenneroff. These were all MDRT members, and they always stood out as opposed to the other brokers. You had your brokers, then you had MDRT members, and they were always different.
Okay.
So that left a lasting impression on me, that an MDRT member, there's something different to them. And I can't describe what it is, but they're just maybe more professional, more focused.
Yeah.
And it's because of the organization and where you've got to pitch your levels of income. I'll never forget, I went to Atlanta. Yes, a story. I went to Atlanta in 1994, and I thought I was at the top of the pops. I qualified MDRT for Atlanta, and the first platform speaker got up to address us, and I realized you're not at the top of the ladder. You're right down at the bottom ring. You've got a long way to go, Asperger, before you even think yourself as being successful in this industry. And it's something I still hold. I mean, I don't believe we've done well, but I don't think I'm that successful because there are bigger writers than me, and I'm fortunate enough to have rubbed shoulders with Tony Gordon, these guys. It always amazes me that the amount of life cover they write and how they put a deal together and how they structure deals. And then you get that from $1 Million Round Table, because we have the same challenges wherever you are in the world. We have exactly the same challenges. We've been to a couple of meetings. The conversation remains exactly the same. We all have the same challenges. Placing large risk. COVID has affected the ability to place large sums insured. So you all share the same. You all have the same problems worldwide, and it's good to have a chat, because sometimes it's an incredibly lonely profession. Being a financial planner, because you've got nobody to talk to. In days gone by, we could get together as independent brokers and go on a trip with the insurance companies, and you used to get that camaraderie and get to know the CEOs of companies, etc., where you can't do that today. So I find that sort of legislation has been very destructive in terms of what we're doing today. The interpersonal skills, the sharing of problems, etc. And that's maybe why also in 2013 I decided to join Discovery, because you still have that camaraderie. There are guys there, guys are battling, and they feel that they need help. Well, we're here, and that's what MDRT is about as well. We're here to help them.
No, wonderful. And Hilton, what has been your involvement with MDRT over the years?
Relatively not that much, to be very honest, because I've been building my own career, and I did serve on the committee at a young stage when I was a lot younger. I was more involved with an organization called LUASA, the Life Underwriters Association in South Africa, but that's many years ago. So yes, there was involvement, then MDRT involvement, and then life happens. You look again, and suddenly you're in the twilight of your career, and we still give back to MDRT where we can, and I do presentations, and I speak about MDRT when I'm invited to do a presentation, etc., to the younger guy. But that's more of an ambassadorial role than that's the wrong word. It's not an ambassadorial role. Quibus is an ambassador. You're an ambassador. I'm not an ambassador. But when I get the opportunity to speak about MDRT, I do.
So when last did you attend an annual meeting?
Top of the table, Las Vegas, maybe the year 2000.
Okay, so since then you haven't attended like an annual meeting or conference. Okay,
no.
So
because we twice a year you travel internationally, and generally the companies are taking you away for their meetings. So So, and I'm also fairly self-motivated.
Yeah.
But I do read the MDRT things. I followed on YouTube to stay a little bit abreast of what's happening in the market. But to actually get on a plane and fly to the United States for a meeting, I made a decision to rather do that with my family, rather than get an MDRT meeting.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So what does MDRT mean to you?
Sense of belonging to an organization that has the same ethics and values. Long before we were regulated the way we are today, you had your $1 million round table code of ethics. And I've strongly believed in that and adhered to that throughout my career. So it's like-minded people. We all have the same ethic in our life. I enjoy what is it now that they call the complete person? We got a word for it.
Whole person concept. Yeah.
The whole person concept. Thank you. So the whole person concept I bought into quite some time ago. My family is very important to me. So there's a fine balance between work and family time, and then giving back to communities. So MDRT's taught me all of those sort of things.
Wow. Hilton, what has been your biggest life challenge? How did you overcome it?
I think every day is a challenge. Every day is a challenge. But as long as you remain positive and you go through life. I mean, I've never touched wood. There's never been a major challenge in my life. I've come to accept certain things. I've come to accept our mortality. Losing my father at age, losing my two brothers within 30 days of one another. You come to realize that we're mortal, and we're going to have challenges every day of our lives. And if you think your problems are bad, well, let me tell you mine, sort of thing. So I don't, you buy into, old Derek Dingwall's top of the morning sort of attitude, top of the morning to you, and you buy into that positive attitude, and you just you just stay positive in life. I think that's the most important thing. Is to see the positives in the negative. And this time too will pass. You really think you're going through trying times. These are tough times, and when you look back at it 5 years later, you think, no, that wasn't too bad, was it?
Yeah, it's good to have the positive look on life.
Yeah.
Hilton, I got 3 quick-fire questions. The first one is winter or summer?
Oh, definitely summer.
Okay. So you love the to be able to travel during summer, the warm weather.
So you come back to the meetings and that sort of thing. Yeah. So I want to, because it's all about time management as well. Now you can't constantly be traveling, because otherwise your production goes down, and then insurance companies get very twitchy when your production is not looking good. I try and travel pre-COVID twice a year internationally. And that would generally be in July, because Johannesburg gets awfully cold in July. So you start looking for the European, the warm climate. And do your planning correctly. In our industry, it allows you to do that. We're very fortunate in that, and that we can decide whether you want to work 8 months of the year, 7 months of the year, or 9 months of the year. That's your decision. And then how you break it up. You say, listen, I'm getting back to work on the 10th of January. My next break for most people would be April, July, August, December. And so you get your calling patterns aligned at the beginning of the year. And in terms of calling and your calling patterns for that year, and then you drill that into your staff, the admin assistant who makes your appointments for you, and you drill that in, and then it automatically it just fills up. And it's always been that a lot of people chase new business. Yes, you do need new business as a young advisor, but once the business is on the books, there's business in the business.
That's right.
So when you're calling on a client and you're reviewing the portfolio, he's going to tell you, or she's going to tell you, oh, you must remember this person's just opened a new company, or my nephews have inherited money, or so my advice is never just to chase new production. You've got to find that fine balance between client reviews, new business, in a week. And this is also from MDRT.
Yeah.
You define your calling patterns based on obviously geography.
Yeah.
You get your geography right in terms of calling patterns. And then you target how many new business calls you're going to do a week and how many reviews. And then there's the networking. There's the networking calls as well. And once again, MDRT, the centers of influence. You go and look for those centers of influence. They may not pay big premiums, but they definitely may have their center of influence.
Yeah.
So you need to determine that in your practice as well. So a lot of planning. That on the weekend, generally early in the mornings, it's dedicated to planning from 4 o'clock until 7 o'clock when you're ready to go to gym or whatever it is. Those 3 hours, those 6 hours on the weekend is dedicated to planning the following week. Where you're going, what are you doing, who you're seeing, etc. And obviously you've got to keep the cash register ready.
What is your favorite drink?
A spritzer.
Okay.
The Aperol spritz. That's champagne. Aperol spritz is not champagne. The Italian version for prosecco water and a bit of Aperol. That's what I drink.
Then lastly, about what is something new happening in your life right now?
Oh, my grandsons.
Oh.
So I've got a little grandson of 7 months old, 8 months old. And then there's another little one on his way. So definitely my grandson.
Okay. Does that remind you about fatherhood?
Very much so, and it just gives you we have time. When I was a young father, you didn't have time, so you understand the importance of being a grandparent, because it gives you that time to interact with your children once again, and then the grandchildren. So it's a very special time of our lives right now.
Hilton, if there's one life lesson or personal finance advice you would like to give to general public out there, what is it?
Well, have a plan. Like anything, have a plan and work to your plan and stick to your plan and never deviate from your plan. Have a if financial, then it's over time. It's a time period, be it 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Have a plan of where you're going in life and what you want to achieve. And have a clear plan of what you actually want to achieve in life. And then chase it down to the best of your ability.
I think that's so true. I think a lot of people, if they don't have a plan, they don't know where they're going. But once they have a plan and you're focused, then really it's going to drive you, and then you are going to get there sooner or later.
Absolutely. If you look at any of our CEOs in this company, the successful CEOs and successful people around, not necessarily CEOs, they're very focused people. Yeah. There's an underlying focus in their makeup, in their characteristic of where they're going and what they want to achieve. And it might not necessarily be all about money. That varies. You also get to a point in your life where you realize it's not all about money. There are other things that, but being in financial planners, our focus generally goes to money all the time. And it's not necessarily all about that. It's about a broad spectrum. We're great listeners. We, as financial planners, and you will come, as you get older, come to realize that it's a broader, and MDRT teaches you this. It's a broader spectrum than financial planning. You become confidence. You become that pillar. When something does go wrong, you're the pillar there for the family, to keep the family together and get them through their tough times.
Yeah. Hilton, thanks very much for your time and sharing this time and insights with us. And I really appreciate some of your gray hair wisdom coming through. This certainly for a lot of young advisors, they can learn a lot from you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you for the time. And it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Thumbs up if you like this episode and share it with your friends.